keep coming back with all you've got. It's not about sportsmanship. It's when they say it's how you played the game. They're not talking about being nice to the opponent. It's how you played the game. Were you relentless? Were you going for it on every opportunity you had? Are you not? You're not letting someone get you down. You're not letting life get you down. You're going to just. I'm going to be relentless. That's what I'm going to be.
Welcome to another episode of the Mindset on Resilience podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Truelove, and I'm excited to bring you another episode. As you know, on our show, we're all about building more confident, resilient, and mentally strong communities. And the guest that we have with you today is a special one. He is the president of the Shelby County Board of Education, director of communications at Jeff State. Overall, amazing man. Excited to be connected with him as someone that I have an opportunity just to have conversations with at times, and I always leave away with more wisdom and guidance along the way. And so, none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. David Bobo. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great, Daniel. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your program today. Appreciate all that you do and everything. We're just talking. I'm seeing you everywhere, so I appreciate you just spreading the message and keeping it going. So you're doing great work.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. I want to start there. I met you. We talked about you being the president at Shelby County Board of Education. I had the honor or privilege of speaking at one of the schools that you all have there, and you showed up, and I was like, had the opportunity to meet you and speak with you, and I'm just grateful and honored just to meet you and doing an amazing job as a father and everything else that you have going on there, and so happy to have this conversation with you. Yes, sir. So, tell me a little bit about your journey. You obviously director at a college, also president of board of education. Tell me about how your journey got to that space.
Sure. Well, there's you can. How far do you want to go back? We can go back to way back, but I think it really started with just my parents and how they impressed upon me that you're really not here for yourself. You're here to help others, to make a difference, in others' lives. So that always stuck with me. And then when I went to college, my degree was actually in public relations. So you don't think of public relations as, how are you going to use that to help people? You have your duties, but what I've learned is it doesn't matter what your job is. You can make it be something about helping others. One of my favorite examples I use when I'm speaking to young people is, there's a great image of window washers and they're washing the windows on a high rise, but it's a high rise hospital, and they could go and do their thing, and they could wash windows and be done and clock out at the end of the day and be done, or they can do what they do. And some of them, I've got photos that they dress up in superhero costumes. So when they come down the side of that window, and every time they're at a window where a kid is in there in the hospital, um, just the joy and the excitement of one little part of their day is they get to look out and see Superman, Batman, Captain America, everything that you can imagine coming down that wall. And so it's just a perfect example of, how can you take your job and turn it into something? Every job can be that. Every single job out there can still be about helping others. So I got my degree in communications, public relations, and really started at Jeff State. And so from post college, really the positions that I have held are really um, heavily involved in education. And so it's Jeff State providing opportunities, and then it's also the school board and getting to make decisions that are going to move our school systems forward. So um, not just the school system, but really impact lives of students. So I've had the opportunity to really pour into education, and that's really become something for me that really just has paralleled, everything that I do. My hopes and how I can give back and help others, um, mentoring, um, you know, making clearing the path a little bit so others can succeed, and that's really been a great thing for me too. Heavily involved in Kiwanis Club is that's an organization that really is focused on helping young people, and that may be raising money to build a new playground, or it may be cooking pancakes to help fund some initiative that is helping kids. So that has kind of been my passion. Uh, my Probably my favorite quote. I guess I have a lot of quotes that I love. One of them that's on my Twitter feed, if you ever go there and look, is it's a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. And yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, but that quote has been on my Twitter for years now. But life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And that has always hit me. And I felt like, if you're not doing something for somebody else, you really, what are you here for? What are you doing? I mean, we need to help each other out. Certainly, um, today's world, but it's always been that way. That's what we need to be doing, and helping one another. So that's kind of how my journey, I guess, has got me to where I am, and what I care about, and those are the things that mean a lot to me.
Well, one of the things that I heard while you were speaking is that you started off talking about your parents impressed upon you that we're supposed to be here to help serve other people. What are we doing to make the lives of other people better? And I think that's amazing because as you can see, like as you've gone throughout every stop, like it's always been about, what am I doing? And it kind of is like your North Star. This is this thing that kind of guides you throughout your life. And you said something because I think it's so amazing the whole pressure wash the window washers at the hospital. Oh my goodness! Like I think about. I don't know if you ever heard this story. It's about the cashier. There was this cashier teenager, and he wanted to make a difference. What is you say? I got my degree in PR. You may not think, oh, what am I going to do to make a difference? To that cashier. I think, well, how are you going to make a difference as a cashier? In his lane, he wrote personalized notes and he would give them like words of encouragement as people would come through and he would give it to them and they'll ring out. Well, one day the manager comes out and the other two cash registers don't have anybody in there. And he has a line that's all the way through the through the end of the grocery store. So the manager is trying to find out like what in the heck is going on? Like, yeah, there's two other lanes. No, we want to go through his lane. And it's like he's like his lane is the one to where I get what I need. So you think cashier, man, what are you gonna do with that? It's all about your perspective and it's all about your approach. And I love that because they're making kids like dressed up as Superman, Batman, and all that. I know those kids, like even though they have some challenging situations, um, even a glimpse of hope and even a glimpse of smile, it matters. So I love that. Man, so your journey, obviously doing the work that you do, for those that may not know, maybe we could start with your current role. What does it look like to work for a university?
Yeah. Well, what we get to do, and Jefferson State is special. Education, as we all know, it's really um, changes lives. I mean, it's kind of, sometimes people like that sounds kind of corny, but it really does. It's going to take someone. It's going to give them the experience, the tools they need to maybe better their situation in life, and those kinds of things. But at a community college in Jefferson State, particularly, what you see is it really is all kinds of students. And I talk about helping young people, but most of our students are what you would call that traditional student, finish high school, go to college, maybe go to Jeff State and transfer on and continue, or get that 2 year degree and go to work. But we see so many that need help. Maybe it's financially, maybe it's broken home, maybe it's there's a lot of folks who who talk about their kids. Hey, they've gone to this university, and you're going to go there, and you're going to love it. It's going to be the best 4 years of your life, and all of that stuff. But we're getting kids who a huge percentage, about 45% of our students still, this still always shocks me because we're not a college out in rural area or anything like that. We're in, greater Birmingham area, but still a huge percentage of our students are first generation students. That was my case. My mom and dad did not go to college, and that path looks like for a first generation student. You don't know how to, well, what do I do? How do I register? How do I figure my grade point average? What are some resources that are out there to me? So there's a lot of challenges with first generation students. So we see a lot of students like that who are coming and needing certain things. We have a student success center. Not only does that student success center provide tutoring and those kinds of things, but it's mental health. It's mental health counseling. We have a food bank there for students who do not have food. If you're hungry and your kids are hungry, it is hard to focus on growing as a student. That becomes a little down the list. Our president Keith Brown has shared a story so many times that I love, but it's a student who he walks out, he's about to go home, and he sees the student there with a flat tire on his car, and for a lot of people, a flat tire is put the spare on. Okay, you're good. Next time you get a chance, go buy a new set of tires. For some of our students, a flat tire means this student didn't have a spare and he didn't have money to buy new tires. I mean, a flat tire can derail the whole journey. I mean, so it's a very vulnerable group of students. A lot of our students are like that. So, what are we doing to pour into the other things, that the things that maybe you don't think about, food, mental health, all of those issues? We have an emergency student fund. So if you do have a flat tire and you don't have $200 to go to tire, you apply for this emergency grant, and it's processed quickly. Our foundation takes care of that. So there's a lot of resources like that we see students are needing to make it. And so I'm proud to be a part of that, and then see where you can help beyond the normal things that you think about. And same way with the school board. There's so many resources that we really try to give students and give them an opportunity to excel, where beyond just the what you would think of kind of the basics. Mental health is a part of that too. So really helping students. There's so many challenges. I'm getting on up there, and the challenges I face as a young person are not the same as what our young people are facing today. So it's important that we assess that, look at how can we do more than is expected. Our goal is to, our Shelby County, one of our mottos in Shelby County schools is, every person a graduate and every graduate prepared. Um, that means not just, hey, did you make good grades, but are you prepared with, are you prepared to take on challenges? Are you prepared to go off to college and maybe be alone, and it's harder than you thought? I mean, are you resilient? Do you have the perseverance to continue? So, you know, it's not always a handout; it's a hand up to reach out and pull someone up so they can achieve what they're really going after.
Yeah, I think that's amazing because that imagery of because like I'm thinking about my car outside was in the garage, but I have a spare, and think about somebody that's in a situation where they don't have the spare, and then okay, well I have to get a new tire, and then well how am I going to get? So there's all these different questions that come into play. Uh, thing that came into my mind instantly was that you all are really thinking about their resilience journey. Like, how can we put, whether it's resources, talk about the student resource centers, resources into play so that if challenges do come, because they will, because this is life, when challenges do come, uh, we are helping them figure out that there's a way to process that. Because I think sometimes if you've lived a life like some first generation students have, then maybe they didn't have access to certain resources. And so maybe there were some stops that they've, experienced that didn't make them, think about that. But even that small thing, and maybe I'm thinking a little too big in this, but man, I think it's amazing. But even that small thing allows the mind to think, okay, there's something else. Keep thinking, keep trying. Um, it's kind of like that. Did you see ever heard about the rat experiment? Oh, it's the swimming one. So the psychologist had some rats, and they have them swim basically almost to exhaustion. And as they were getting ready to sink, they would pull them out. And let's say they swam for 15 hours before they were getting ready to quit. After a little while, they would put them back into the water. And the question, how many hours do you think there was? Let's say it was 15. Well, you just swam for 15 hours, and 15 hours was exhaustion. How much longer can you swim? Average was 60 hours. Just knowing that hand up that you mentioned, just knowing that, man, maybe just maybe at some point, maybe just maybe at some point, they were able to go longer and farther because they knew that there was a hand up available. And that's immediately what I thought about when you shared that. Man, that's amazing. Yeah, you all are doing some amazing things. And one of the things I kind of think about, like, as your journey goes, like, have have you yourself, like, how do you operate within your role? Like, does it have any like kind of challenges to where you have to overcome those things yourself? I know you are kind of facilitating that for others, but what about for yourself? Do you ever experience any challenges? You look like Superman over there, Clark Kent, but do you ever go through anything?
Oh yeah, that's part of it. It's part of life. The old, um, you just don't have all the answers. And I will tell you, there was a I remember years ago there was a poem that really stuck with me. Richard Cory is the name of it, and I won't try to recite it to you, but it was talking about a gentleman who he when he walked down the street, everybody thought, man, there he goes. He's just, man, this guy, he's got it all together, and amazing. He's rich. He's got the personality. He's got it all. Every man wants to be him, and just amazing. And the sad part of the end of the poem is one night, he goes home and takes his own life, and you really just don't know what someone is going through. So it may look great on the outside, and I will say everyone everyone has a struggle, and you really just don't know what someone's going through. What's the line in To Kill a Mockingbird is you don't know what someone's going through until you walk a mile in their shoes. It really is, opening your eyes, looking at a different perspective, and those kinds of things. But to answer your question, I mean, sure, everyone. I certainly have challenges. I mean, I have two boys, and the great and wonderful things that happen with that are also coupled with, you're on a roller coaster. One day it's, man, you did great on that, and then the next, like, oh, Dad, I bumped into this car, and it's gonna how much am I going to need to pay for that? So there's always something. The whole social media too. What do you look like on social media? Well, you look perfect on social media, right? Everybody does. Nobody puts up their photos or man, I really bombed this test. That's usually not the thing that someone puts on their social media. So we have to be really careful about looking at what someone is doing. Everybody's struggling, me included. So it's the other thing too is just um, Man, I saw a little graph the other day, and it showed from point A to point B, and going from A to B is that's really hard. That's hard to do, but if I just go step, little steps, that's a whole lot easier to get to that, and you're going to still get there, but it's not going to be. You're not taking on everything at once, and I would say those challenges of, yeah, I have them too, but you know, get up every day, put one foot in front of the other. It's usually not as bad as it seems, and you're going to keep going. So, um, yeah, everybody has challenges. Everybody has challenges, and you just keep going, keep trying. And I heard someone say, you know what? Guess what, man? Everybody does it. Everybody has it. It's life. That's what happens to us. It's not easy, and um, that's talking to young people and like it's encouragement. But you don't have to be you don't have to have it all figured out, and you don't have to be perfect right now. We're working. We're taking a piece every day and another. We're going to get there. You're not in a race with anybody else. You've got your goals and your things, and let's move that way.
You kind of talked about the mindset that it takes in order to just to keep moving along. And I think, and I'm just being insert myself into the equation. And there's been some like stops within my life or some experiences that it was like kind of a little bit more difficult to take that next step or even seeing a reason to kind of like move forward. And for you, I love the fact that mindset is like, man, what I've done too often is I've been at A, I took a little peek down there at B. Like, man, it's a little far. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like, how do you, develop the mindset that it takes to be resilient? And for you, I see like it's perspective, and it's like just putting one foot in front of the other to kind of continue to move along. And I kind of wanted to go here. You get an opportunity to lead, whether it's at Jeff State or whether it's at Shelby County, and so you have many people that lives that you get to impact in that type of way. What is your thoughts on what you see out there in the education space, and how can we um, what can we be doing to kind of like move the needle forward in a way? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Um, so there's a lot of, I guess, specific things you can mention, but if there was one gift, if I could wrap up in a gift and give to a young person and give it to them, and it would be perseverance, would would be it. It would be resilience. That is number one. It doesn't matter. If you're hiring, if you're a business owner and you're trying to hire someone, it'd be great to have a kid who has a 4.0 and and they're smart and they've got all the grades. But you know what I'd rather have instead of that 4.0? I'd rather have someone who can handle themselves, but they have a work ethic. If they have a perseverance, they're going to get through. So when they're challenged, they're not going to give up. So what are we doing in education? If we can create opportunities to grow and learn. One of I don't know who said this quote, but it goes. It's always one I use and I love, and it's smooth seas never made a good sailor, and it's true. If you have been tested, if you go through the rougher times, and you get out of that, you are so much better equipped to handle life than if maybe you go through your college experience, your high school experience, you don't really, maybe you don't ever work for something or work, and that could be, in activities, that could be in sports, that could be in the band, the choir, what, any activity, you're going to have to You're probably going to have a coach. Some sports you have a coach that may yell at you, but some are going to just say, "This is not how you need to do it. You need to do it this way. I'm going to modify your behavior so you're going to uh, do it the way that it needs to be done." Well, everybody likes to do it how they want to do it. When someone is correcting you, you know, take that in. Be coachable is one thing, but if there's a thing, if we can appropriately, and we don't want to throw someone who is barely hanging on, we don't want to throw them off the deep end here. That's not what I mean, but appropriately challenge young people academically, activities, could be sports, whatever. If we can challenge them, so they are going to build that, they're going to be challenged, they're going to overcome it, and when you overcome a challenge, man, you feel great. You feel like, man, bring it on. I can do anything I need to do because I. Why do I know that? Because I've been tested. I know how I have reacted in that situation before, and now I'm better for it. Um, there's another great, I guess it's an article, a poem written by, if there's any sports fans out there, but it's called Alumnus Football. It's written by the great Grantland Rice. He was the guy who talked about the four horsemen at Notre Dame, and just an old sports writer back when sports writers were huge stars. I mean, you didn't have all the everything out there, now, but it was a writer. So just a tremendous writer. But he wrote. Have you ever heard the phrase? It's not whether you win or lose; it's how you play the game. I'm sure everybody's heard that. Until about 2 years ago, I hadn't read that in a long time. About 2 years ago, I reread that writing. And Daniel, I'll ask you, what do you think of when you hear that phrase? What's the one word you think of? It's not it's not whether you, yeah, okay. I was going to say most people say sportsmanship, and and sportsmanship is fantastic. I think every kid, every young person needs to learn it. If they're doing sports or whatever, they need to learn how to behave, how to act when you lose, be a good winner. Know how to act when you lose. Sportsmanship is fantastic. Don't want to take anything away from sportsmanship. But I encourage anybody listening today, go reread that. Go read that story. Alumnus Football by Grantland Rice. It is not talking about sportsmanship. Has really nothing to do with that poem at all. That poem is about life, and it is you are um, you know you're going to get beaten down. That's just kind of part of it, and you in the poem it says, keep coming back with all you've got. It's not about sportsmanship. It's when they say it's how you played the game. They're not talking about being nice to the opponent. It's how you played the game. Were you relentless? Were you going for it on every opportunity you had? Are you're not letting someone get you down. You're not letting life get you down. You're going to just, I'm going to be relentless. That's what I'm going to be. That's what it means when it's how you played the game. Um, for years, I thought that was sportsmanship, and sportsmanship is great, but really, it's a good example of life's gonna hit you, and it's gonna and I'm an old Rocky Balboa fan too. It's not about how hard you can hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Love all of that. If I'm working out, man, I'm usually playing some Rocky music or something that helps me go. But that. If we can build that, if we can take that and move it on, yes, we want you to pass and do great in your class. Yes, we want you to be a great, instrument player in the band. We want you to be great in drama. All of those things. We want that, but whatever you're doing, I feel like if our schools and our colleges can appropriately test a young person where they are building their confidence, building a resilience, a perseverance, where when they finish, man, I can look back and say, when my boys are, one has graduated college and one's about to, and I always talk about when you go in your first job interview and they say, why should I hire you? You want to be able to have a great answer. You should hire me because I have faced this, this, and this, and I have fought through it. It's been hard, but I did it. You know, and if you have been tested, that's an easy question for you on a job interview. If you go to a job interview and you can just say, all I've done is really went to school and I made good grades, but I went home and I played video games or whatever. I didn't really do more than I had to do. If you haven't, why should I hire you? Well, because I made great grades. That's great, but if you're hiring somebody, you want a little more. You want to be able to look someone in the eye and say, I've been tested. I'm ready to go. I'm going to be the best decision you've made. If we can bring our schools to do that, and it looks different for every person. There's no one quick answer for everybody, but that's the thing I wish and hope for our schools to help our young people so that when they're finished, they're not only prepared, but they feel like I'm ready. I am ready. That's what I hope we can build and deliver when kids finish college or high school.
That's awesome. I think, but I think it's challenging, and I've had this conversation with myself, my family, my wife, and I think the biggest challenge with that is the desire to want it different for your children or to want it different for the next generation than you had it. And by want it different, that most of the times that means better. And even as I think about my life, would I be the person I am without experiencing the challenges I went through? I don't think so. But then I would say, well, do I want my children to go to that? And be like, I don't think so. So now we got a dilemma. It's like, okay, so the kind of the confines and the constraints and the pressure and all these different things, um, we don't oftentimes want that, but then we want the resilience. And those two things are kind of hard. So I think for us, as a community, as people, um, what made you what you are, we have to introduce that. Everything can't be easy. Everything can't be a layup. And I think that there has to be some conversation to had about the challenges and difficulties, whether it be with education, whether it be with sports, whether it be with life. We got to have some challenges along this journey.
Yes. I heard in my role at Shelby County Schools, I heard a teacher speak not too long ago, and she was a math teacher, and she was talking about, they were taking on a new hard concept in math, and one of the students really was struggling, and he raised his hand, and she went over to his desk, and he said, I'm struggling. This is so hard for me. I'm not really getting it. I'm lost. And she looked him in the eye and said, great. That's where I want you to be. I want you to struggle. This is where the learning happens. This is where the growth happens. So you've got to be able to recognize what's happening here. I'm being tested. Why am I being tested? What's going to be the result of that? Kind of take a snapshot of where I am right now in this moment. It seems so hard and so difficult, but where am I going to be when I conquer this? And I love that is really that example from the teacher. It's don't be sad and celebrate. It's almost like celebrate. I am in the learning process. That's what learning looks like. Trials, failures, redo it, learn. I mean, that we have to recognize that's where the good stuff happens. And as a father, when your kids are going through something that's a trial, man, yeah, you want to swoop in there and save the day and one thing you know, as a in my I don't do it anymore, but I used to be a youth football coach and youth baseball coach, and I loved it. I always said if I could pay the bills and be a youth baseball coach, I would. That's what I love because it wasn't about just baseball. You know, you're teaching how to play baseball and good techniques and all that. But you know, we would have a rain delay, and we're sitting in the dugout, and we weren't talking about how we're going to score the next run. We went down the list and said, how did you what have you done for your parents this week? Have you helped around the house? What have you done for someone? If you're going in the lunchroom and there's all your buddies at one table and there's a guy over here sitting and he's by himself, where do you need to sit? You need to sit with that guy who's over there by himself. Help out, you know, because people are struggling, and how can we help? But you know, that whole everything is a growth opportunity challenge, and celebrate where we are and celebrate the partnerships and the working together and all of that. So important to um, take a breath, realize this is, um, you know, this too shall pass is a great lesson to learn in life. As bad as it looks right now, it's going to pass, and we're gonna make it. So, um, passing those things along to young people. Don't bail out. Don't give up. Man, struggle. Golly, you go look through the history of mankind. I mean, there's been a lot of struggles, wars, and uh, diseases, and economic crashes. I mean, we're hey, we're just part of this process, and it's called life. And you know, build that resilience. Do what you can to build that, and help young people build it too. Um, my example though, that in the youth baseball, I had I had a young man that so if you know, I was a coach who we're gonna play everybody and we're gonna get in there. But if if you were not hustling, you don't have to be good to hustle, right? So if you're not hustling, yeah, I may sit you down for a little bit and be on the bench for another inning or something like that. If mom and dad runs down to the dugout and gets in your face and says, why is my not son playing? My son's not playing. What's the problem here? And you go and tell him that coach doesn't know what he's talking about, and you should be playing, you're great, and all that. You're stealing from your kid the opportunity to grow from that situation. Let the lesson, like, okay, maybe he wasn't hustling. Well, we're not going to sit him for the rest of the year, but let that lesson, let him absorb that lesson. Why am I sitting on the bench, and why am I not getting to play? It may be because I'm not giving my best. I may be not giving the effort that's needed. And if you steal away the opportunity for your child or a student to learn and to learn that lesson, that's not good. Those lessons are hard. You want to save your kid. You want to pave the way. You've got to resist and let some things just have to be learned. And it's hard. It's hard when you're old like me and experienced, and you see, that's not the best move, but your kid has to choose that himself and learn that, and then he'll know it. But he may never know it if you swoop in there and save the day every time. So it is challenging as a parent to do that. You don't want to see that situation, but it really helps them to grow if they can get to experience it themselves.
Absolutely. Man, I'm the same way. There's nothing more that burns me up than I see somebody lollygagging. I don't. It just does something. Like, I was speaking at a school a couple weeks ago, and PE teacher was in there. They had the football team in there, so I'm there early. I'm just observing what's going on. Oh, go, go. One of the kids sits down in the middle of the sprint. I'm over there like, what is this? So I go over there to him. I said, get up, you gotta finish that. And I was like, you know, your team is still running and you're sitting down. I don't know, man. I'm with you. Like that's one of the, like you said, if you want if I was a coach, you want to get benched, don't give everything you have. And like you said, as parents, we have to recognize that what are we teaching? You know, what are we teaching? How is this going to help them out later in life? One thing I want to say, and I have one last question I want to ask you. Uh, I think you've just actually spoke about the key to success. There was a study that was done, and they were asking why is I think it was like China. It was either I think it was China. Why are China's like math scores so much and they have higher or better engineers or whatever than in America? They're trying to figure this thing out, and what they noticed is that they observed classrooms, multiple classrooms here in the U.S. and then multiple classrooms there. In the U.S., students struggle 8% of the time. They're 40%. Solution: more struggle, more growth. And when you have that struggle, they said they would give them, sometimes they would give them the wrong answers just to have them like, wait a minute, why is that like that? And they said that's the key that makes them what? Their mind is going, they're thinking, how do I figure this thing out? And therefore they experience a lot of growth. And with growth, comes, success as you go later in life because what? I know how to persevere. And so with that being said, man, one of the things I like to kind of end our segments on is this thing I call better days ahead. And so for someone that's out there listening to this, do you have, I don't know if it's a mantra or if it's I know you like quotes and you read a lot of books and things like that. Maybe it's an excerpt from a book or something like that. Like, what encouragement do you have for somebody that that there are better days ahead?
Well, there are tough times, and it is tough. Um, my I know we're talking about my dad earlier, and he's passed away. But one thing he always told me, he owned his own business. He was a minister, and he was also a plumber, and I always helped him after school and in the summers. That was my first job, was always helping him. And I remember we were at a house, and he he needed the water turned off at the street, and so we sent me out there. He was like under the house or whatever, so I went over there and really tried to turn the water off, but I couldn't get the valve to budge. I couldn't turn it, and I've got the thing going. I'm trying to turn it off, and I couldn't get it off, and I come back, and he's working. He's getting a little fired up and hot and everything else. And I remember going back to my dad and said, I can't get it off. I can't turn it off. Can't turn it off. And I remember he just kind of rolled back and looked at me, and he didn't go crazy on me at that moment, but he said, he looked me in the eye and says, "You can't turn it off." Or he says, "Yeah." He said, "You can't turn it off because you don't have to turn it off." And I got that clear and straight to the heart of what he meant is, you may not have to do it. Dad has to do it. Dad has bills to pay, and we've got food we need to buy, and we've got things we've got to take care of. So you may not be able to do it, but how motivated are you? My dad was very motivated to get that water shut off. So he went out and took care of it and did it. And if he couldn't budget, guess what? He was going to hook a truck to the wrench. I don't know what he was going to make sure that got done, because if it didn't get done, he didn't get paid. So, you know, that whole, what kind of motivates you to do it? Um, Sometimes you just got to do it. I mean, that's kind of a maybe a lame answer, but you, you know, who are you responsible to? And if you're a father or a mother, I mean, you're responsible for your kids and what you're teaching them and those kinds of things. You also have to be responsible and answer to you. You have to be honest with yourself. You look in that mirror, you know, that's one thing to, you know, you don't need to tell a lie, but I mean, boy, if you're lying to yourself, I mean, what are you really doing? I mean, you have got to evaluate, how important is it that I finish high school? How important is it that I be a team member that is someone that others on the team can rely on. How important is that? How important is it for you to bet on yourself, rely on yourself to finish this degree or whatever, finish this task so that you're in a better place where you maybe can help others more, or maybe help your family more, whatever. Um, you have to be accountable, and sometimes that accountability, yeah, it's obvious if you're a offensive lineman and you've got a block for your quarterback on this fourth down, yeah, you're accountable there. But you've got to recognize I've got to be accountable to my family. I've got to be accountable to myself. I've got to be those kinds of things. So you know you've got to put yourself in that position where I'm going to get this done. I'm going to get this done, or I'm going to die trying. And um, that's the thing. I hope that how do you be motivated. I heard someone say the other day. I think it was a new coach that just landed in Tuscaloosa, but he said, being driven is greater than being motivated. I thought that's really something. I thought that was good. I mean, are you motivated? Or I was kind of motivated to go turn the water off because my dad told me to do it. I was motivated. Was I driven to turn the water off? No. Was he driven? Yes. Difference. So, putting yourself in a position where we just have to do it. We just have to do it. And we have so many great examples through time. I mean, you think of the men who stormed the beaches of Normandy. Man, what a situation that was. But they're going to do it. The job says do it. We're going to do it, and that means you've got to hold it to yourself. Hold it to your standards. Make a standard where you're going to um, get it done. And I think that's where uh, how do you motivate? You've got to make it part of you, part of your soul, part of what you've got to do. So I don't know if that really answers the question either, but that's how you've got to position yourself so that whatever that goal is that you've got to do, you're just going to do it. You're going to do it and find a way. We're going to find a way.
That's awesome. Well, I thank you so much for your time. I thank you so much for all your wisdom. And I thank you for what you're doing in both of your roles to advance the lives of students, to advance the lives of people. And I just want to encourage you to continue doing the amazing work that you're doing. And so this is another episode of the Mindset on Resilience podcast. And we like to end these shows on the advice and the wisdom that we just received. And he told him the message that he received from his father. You don't have to because you don't have to. And so for you, you have to find your have to. Why do you have to keep going? Why do you have to keep fighting? Why do you have to keep trying? Find your have to. Thank you so much. I have a great day.